Keep going. You're supposed to keep going. I've gotten and that's what I tell to students. I've gotten major film from one shitty little scene and a TV show. I've gotten a TV series on a network from one shitty little scene and a shitty little movie somebody saw at a hotel or somewhere.
What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the NerdGen Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz, The Void. Our Void shows are getting talked about in the sense that these are things that are happening that people, I guess, paying attention to, but we're going to give it our perspective, right? We got to see what was going on here. James Cameron, like you said, Brian, in our previous show, he wants to do something else. This could be that something else, right? This is confirmed that he wants to do this?
I got his own words on this. Okay.
Rian Johnson says, what, Brian? What have we been talking about? Come on, man.
We're Stallone.
Everybody should change.
That's what it is.
Star Wars needs to change. Carl Rinsch guilty? I don't know what that means.
We talked about this story way back, man.
Okay.
I'm just, it finally was a resolution. Things you think you can get away with. Especially at Netflix, apparently, which is ironic given the deal going on. But anyway, yeah.
Tom Cruise, no space movie. And he isn't going to bend the knee. Then we get our Brainiac choice. We'll talk about perhaps some of the reasons for that choice. Simu Liu, back at it again. We'll get into it. Because it's not like this is new to us. We've been talking about situations where Simu Liu talks. And when he talks, he has strong words that may, how would I say, stir the pot. We got to throw our hands up in the air. And yell. But you do care because you don't want to deal with this. I'm telling you, what's this dude's name? Ray Fisher and him are going to get together and do a movie. That's what they should do. They should get together and do a movie.
Or a podcast.
Word up. This is going to be an interesting conversation. Let's begin with Mr. James Cameron.
Yeah.
More Terminator. And I think they also talked about Arnold Schwarzenegger's done with Terminator, correct?
Yeah, I think we're finally there. Came a little too late, but we're finally there. What's interesting is James Cameron doing promotion for Fire and Ash. He talked about several ideas that he's had. So he's had this. Remember, he had at one point this movie, which he still owns the rights to a novel related to the atomic bomb in Hiroshima, Last Train to Hiroshima, which he took a shot at Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. For no real reason, in my opinion, but other than to say he wanted to make a counterpoint to that from the Japanese perspective, which I'm like, great, sounds cool. Let's see that movie. Yeah. So he has the rights to that. But, and he was also talking about revisiting Alita. Remember that Battle Angel movie that he produced with Robert Rodriguez directing? He did talk about revisiting that as well. But Terminator's always been this thing where people, it's been so strange to watch the journey of this IP since he really left it. And how every successive movie, they kind of bring it back to him for his approval to kind of be like, we got to get his buy-in. And he's actually been pretty generous about giving the buy-in to pretty bad movies as part of that. And then in Dark Fate, he kind of got involved. He didn't direct it, but he had a hand in producing it. It was very contentious. He and Tim Miller did not get along at all. And Cameron actually is one of the things that he forced into Dark Fate. He insisted that Arnold Schwarzenegger be brought back for that movie, not just Linda Hamilton. And the movie is not terrible. I think it's actually this is one of those where the box office was really bad, but I find it watchable. Mm-hmm. However, I also find it contaminated by some of the other bad Terminator that came before it. Mm-hmm. Like Genesis, like there's just, it gets to the point where like Dark Fate is passable, but like it's kind of been ruined already by all this other stuff. Yeah. So Cameron says,
I'll be back.
He's finally back. That a new Terminator will be the priority on his desk after Fire and Ash. He said, I'm going to quote, I'm really going to plunge into getting to work on completing the script for the next film. And he's going to direct it. So he's finally going to do the written and directed by James Cameron. This will be, I guess, the real Terminator 3 if you're scoring at home, right? We've been talking about the retconning and how Doomsday is coming after Endgame. This is the real Terminator 3. But what's interesting is he says, and I think this is what has to give you some hope because it is Cameron. He was asked about Arnold. Quote, he won't be in it. It's time for a new generation of characters. I insisted Arnold be involved in Dark Fate, and it was a great finish to him playing the T-800, but there needs to be a broader interpretation of Terminator and the idea of a time war and super intelligence. I want to do new stuff that people are not imagining, end quote.
That's interesting when it comes from him, right? You don't say no to that.
Not when so much of what he posited in Terminator 1 and 2 has now become a talking point of reality with the rise of AI today. I mean, and it's so interesting, right? Because you think about Cyberdyne systems in those movies, and then you think about companies today where you can't really see inside the inner workings, right? The OpenAIs of the world that are huge, massive market caps, developing upgrades to their technology that are, new releases of their large language models coming every couple of months. And you're like, I mean, are we that far from the Skynet concept? I mean, that he imagined? Of what's going on behind the closed doors of this one corporation that's basically because Arnold describes it in T2 where Cyberdyne kind of takes over the world as a corporation because they have the control of the AI that becomes Skynet, that the largest global defense contractor in the world. I mean, we're kind of there, we're kind of getting there, right? And so what I think is exciting when Cameron says this is he's saying, okay, we're there. Now I have to imagine something else.
Yeah.
Beyond that, and he says something which we talked about in the Running Man review, which I think is so key. He says it's tricky to, quote, stay enough ahead of what is really happening to make it truly science fiction, end quote. And that's it, right? It's one of the struggles of Running Man is that what's imagined in the book kind of is, we sort of have some of that in real life now. So when you see the new Running Man, it doesn't feel as alien. It doesn't feel as future.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Cameron is acknowledging here, I have to make it feel next gen. You're living in a world of AI today. I have to imagine a world of, obviously, AI gone wrong, but something tomorrow that you haven't thought about. That's cool.
How much into the future you think he's talking about?
Well, his whole universe, right, revolved around the year 2029. Right? That was the whole, Los Angeles 2029, and then you get transported back to 84 and 94. But I would think in this continuity, he would go further into the future because the end of Terminator 2 implied they had sort of broken the loop of 2029, right? So I'm guessing he would go to 2079. Or actually, wait, we're in 2025? If the movie comes out in a few years, he went 45 years in the future? Yeah, about 2070, 2075, something like that. That's what he would do.
That is interesting to see what that future looks like.
I think you also have to just take it from the standpoint of when you think about T2 still today looks groundbreaking in some ways in terms of what he was able to achieve visually. And when you see what he achieved visually in Avatar, to see him take the toolbox that he has now from 3D, CGI, and the way he shoots, and to put it into a new Terminator idea, that alone, I have to go see.
So so the idea is at the end of Terminator 2, I guess he just sort of pauses the eventuality of AI taking over, and perhaps we're going to 2079 for when that occurrence happens.
Yeah, so so at
That's
the end of
interesting,
Terminator 2,
yes.
right, Sarah tells you I face basically an open future because they've destroyed, in their minds, all the chips and all the evidence. The next Terminator movies all came around to the idea of you couldn't stop Judgment Day, you could only delay it, you could only alter it, right? They all came back to the same idea. So the question is, will Cameron come back to something similar in a different way, or will he truly go in a different avenue to create the time war of a different sort.
Yeah.
And that'll be the challenge. But visually, what he's able to do now, like I said, when you see Fire and Ash, you see some of the set pieces, and you're like, you just sort of, I read him here saying he wants to go back to the Terminator world. I mean, that movie will look spectacular.
Rian Johnson said what we've been talking about on a number of occasions here on the NerdGen Report. Once again, I have to reiterate myself because there's just some people that you have to sort of speak to and let them know that we are two guys that love the genre and we talk about what's going on in this world. And we read the headlines. We just two guys talking about what could happen. And we obviously appreciate your ears to get some insight as to what we're thinking may happen and what could be happening. What are they thinking about? Rian Johnson says Star Wars needs to change.
Yep.
And we here on the NerdGen Report have been talking about what that change could look like. What are the possibilities based on the conversations that are happening? In the headlines. Not nobody that we call in and be like, yo, what's going on? No, the headlines. What did he say?
So he's out promoting the latest Knives Out movie, and obviously,
Did you see it already?
I did.
Okay,
I didn't like it. So my favorite is still the first Knives Out, and I thought this one to me was the weakest of the three. But they're all well crafted. I enjoy what he's done with these movies, and he gets great actors into small parts. And Daniel Craig hams it up as Benoit Blanc. Very hilariously every time out. But I didn't think this one was quite as kind of gripping start to finish as a mystery conceit as the first one, and even the second one. But the first one I really enjoy. But obviously he's kind of defending Last Jedi, right? Because Last Jedi has always come under fire for changing things.
Yeah.
And it led to so much backlash that they reverted and made no one happy in Rise of Skywalker. So he says, quote, having grown up a Star Wars fan, I know that thing where something challenges it. And I know the recoil against that. I know how there can be infighting in the world of Star Wars, but I also know it's the worst sin to handle it with kid gloves. The worst sin is to be afraid of doing anything that shakes it up, because every Star Wars movie going back to Empire and onward shook the box, rattled the fans, got them angry, got them fighting, and got them talking about it. And then for a lot of them, it got them loving it and coming around on it eventually, end quote. He's not wrong. I mean, I hate to break it to Star Wars fans, but, on this show, you know how much our biggest gripes are, why do we have to stay with the Skywalker family forever? Why do we have to go back to Tatooine every freaking TV show and movie, right? Like we crave well done originality, which is why we ride for Andor.
Every once in a while, shout out to Tracy, 4994. Randomly, he just says, Rogue One, the best. Rogue One.
Rogue One is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
As I said, Andor, Rogue One. I mean, Tony Gilroy George Lucas sits atop the mountain of Star Wars forever for the obvious reasons. Unassailably. Nothing he could have written, no bad dialogue in Attack of the Clones will ever take away his spot atop the mountain of Star Wars for what he imagined was possible. But Tony Gilroy has a statue on that mountain.
Oh, hells yeah. Hells yeah. Again, I have to reiterate myself. If you haven't watched Andor, you are missing out. Regardless if you're not into Star Wars, it's not about Star Wars. It's just has the label on there.
I actually I would love, because it's so hard with this kind of IP, which is so widespread, and I can't do it. You and I can't do this. I would love to find one person. I think you have to be a certain age. Find one person who, with your kids probably, or maybe somebody who's coming new to the Star Wars IP and has never experienced it. I would love to hear from someone who watches in order Andor, Rogue One, and New Hope connected and see what they think. I just, because like that moment in time of the germination of rebellion to Rogue One, the mission, which leads right into George Lucas's New Hope. I would love to have the innocent eyes of someone who's never seen Star Wars experience that story, that arc complete from start to finish with Gilroy and Lucas combined, and see what you think of Star Wars at the end of it.
I would like to find someone to watch it in that order has never watched
Right, so
Star
don't
Wars.
watch
It's
1,
hard
2,
to
and
find.
3. Don't
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
the
yeah,
prequels.
yeah, yeah.
Start with Rogue One.
Yes.
No, start with Andor.
Start with Andor. Start with Andor.
Then watch Rogue One, then watch New Hope, and stop.
You
and then
talk
see
about
what you think.
binging. You talk about binging. That's what original binge is. That's original binging right there. Because you won't be able to take your eyes off of it. Very interesting.
But he's right. I mean, like, that's why we here are craving Dawn of the Jedi. It's not that we know that James Mangold is going to hit a grand slam. It's just that the idea itself represents exactly what Rian Johnson is talking about. It is taking what you know about Star Wars and giving you something you haven't seen before, maybe, and doing it in a way that gives you the escape and gives you the fantasy and gives you the joy and wows you with the Force and lightsabers and Jedi and the origin of Jedi and Sith and all. Like, that's why we're interested in it. Far more so than we're interested in the Simon Kinberg. Maybe it's episode 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah. I mean, Brian, we've talked about some of the changes that need to happen here. Some of the changes I think that we've discussed in regards to what's currently being thought about. We have Dawn of the Jedi, which I think is a beautiful starting point because it eliminates any one thing outside of the Force and the characters that inhabit that Force at that time. You're not thinking about Skywalkers. There may be characters that you like, and that's what it is. You know, you just like characters because of who they are, how their moral core, whatever, right? That's what you sort of care about in terms of the characters that you like and want to see more of and see their story. But it's just open to possibilities.
There's no baggage. That's the beauty of the characters that Andor created. Cyril Karn, Deidre Miro, Bix. Like, these characters have no baggage. They're just well written, well acted, and you can live with them in those seasons without thinking about, oh, this character has to get me to this planet at this time to do this, like in the canon. Like, they don't have to do that. No baggage. Original thought, original creation. But the other reason I like Dawn of the Jedi conceptually was the way Mangold pitched it, which is it's a biblical epic set in the Star Wars universe. To me, if you want to change Star Wars, those taglines are so key because George Lucas himself, as we know, Star Wars is a genre movie. It is him and his love of Flash Gordon and his love of samurai movies and his love of Westerns and his love of mythology all put into one story. He is lifting genres and making his own as a result. Star Wars, to me, one of the flaws is because they live in tropes. We have to have Lone Wolf and Cub. We have to have, Skywalker progeny. We have to have someone be the daughter of someone else important, and they live in tropes. I would rather see Star Wars explore genre, right? Andor is a political thriller in the Star Wars universe. Dawn of the Jedi is supposed to be a biblical epic. Do more of that. What about a true mystery in the Star Wars universe? What about, a true samurai remake in the Star Wars? What about a true war movie, a Saving Private Ryan in the Star Wars universe? Now, to me, you are true to Star Wars, but you're reinventing it. And I want to see more creators who go in that direction, which is why that's why we want to see Dawn of the Jedi. It's like he wants to make the 10 Commandments of Star Wars. Like, in. Even if it's a failure, it's a noble failure.
My money now. Carl Rinsch.
I love this story.
Guilty.
I love this story.
Is this about?
Well, so Carl Rinsch was a Ridley Scott disciple who directed the ill-fated Keanu Reeves 47 Ronin, big budget adaptation that failed. He then was one of these creators that Netflix signed back in the era when they were signing the creators and paying them money. He didn't get as big a deal as some of the others did.
Mm-hmm.
But he was he was later arrested and charged for effectively taking the money that Netflix had given him and not using it.
And FOMOing.
So Netflix paid him a total of $55 million, which, so this is great. So they sent him $44 million as an initial deposit so he would make a sci-fi show that was called Conquest. Never happened. He then asked for additional funding to wrap up the production, so they sent him another $11 million.
Wow.
But instead of putting the money toward the show, Carl Rinch put that money in his piggy bank.
And did what every person that was looking for an opportunity took in the crypto market.
Failed investments, well, first off, some crypto investments, that could have paid off handsomely. So I don't know what crypto he got into bed with, because think about the timing of this, right? The timing of this is 2014, 15. So if you'd gotten into Bitcoin and that, how did you lose? If he put $55 million into Bitcoin in 2015, Carl Rinch ain't having no problems these days.
The only way he loses out if he's doing leverage trading and trying to time markets and stuff like that on his own. Yeah. But you don't lose out on Bitcoin in 2013. If you just let it sit there, you are not losing.
If you have 55, he didn't put it all into that, but I'm just saying, if you took $55 million into Bitcoin when it was trading at pennies back then,
forget about it.
So he's got failed investments, failed crypto investments. He bought multiple Rolls Royces, multiple Ferraris. The best
he probably did do well.
So here's my favorite. This dude spent $1 million on luxury bedding.
Wow.
This dude slept in $1 million bed. Literally. Never finished the show. Never did never even attempted to hide that. Basically, he didn't deliver them anything. He just took the money, spent it, lost it, squandered it, and now found guilty, shockingly, of stealing, of scamming and stealing from Netflix. So, I mean, my guess is he was convicted of wire fraud, money laundering, so he'll probably go to jail. They haven't sentenced him yet. I mean, you can't even make this up. That's why that's why it's such a funny story. That this guy goes from and the funny thing is 47 Ronin is terrible. That movie's terrible. They gave him a ton of money. It was a troubled production. It lost a lot of money. This guy's good at losing money, man. Real good at losing money.
This is what it tells me, that there are people out there who are true creators, and this is who they give their money to.
Yes, you are correct.
Hey, bring that to me, man. Perhaps he did have ambition to make movies, but sometimes, you got to prove yourself before they give you an opportunity. And this guy, they just gave him the opportunity off Jump Street. And there are people out there who have a proven track record of creating interesting pieces, but they don't get the opportunity. And you see how they just giving away money to people who perhaps just had an idea. We got a lot of ideas here on the NerdGen Report.
I mean, I guarantee you we could deliver a better ROI than that.
Oh, my God. Tom Cruise. We had talked about it previously on the NerdGen Report some time ago about Tom Cruise's ambition that he'd be the guy. And there had been conversations of him possibly taking on this expedition into what has not been done before. Kind of. I don't think they've ever filmed. I mean, they filmed in outer space, but there's never been a movie.
No.
In outer space.
No.
He wants to make Gravity be real. Like, you remember Gravity with Sandra Bullock?
I remember Gravity, yep.
That was a dope movie in the theaters.
Yep.
He wants to do it for real. or he wanted to do it, but he had to do one thing, Brian, and he refuses to do it.
Yeah.
Bend the knee. What happened?
I think several things happened, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back. So Doug Liman, who directed Edge of Tomorrow, The Bourne Identity, American Made, he was slated to direct Tom Cruise in a $200 million plus, that would have been more than that, but action-adventure project shot in orbit in conjunction with NASA and SpaceX. Cruise was to play a, quote, down-on-his-luck guy. Listen to this. This is what we're talking about with Cruise, man. Down-on-his-luck guy who finds himself in a position to be what? The only person who can save planet Earth, end quote. You notice a theme here? Movie fell apart. Quote from an insider. From what I understand, they would have needed a lot of NASA coordination to do the movie. And supposedly Tom Cruise did not want to ask the man at 1600 Penn for a favor because you need permission from the federal government, and Tom didn't want to ask for political reasons, end quote. As a result, there have never been any further discussions inside the space agency about the film. There was also an issue, though. Apparently, Doug Liman failed the physical testing that would have allowed him to actually direct in space. So there was that too, because you can't just float up into orbit. You got to qualify. Like, it's not an astronaut training, but you got to do some basic stuff to go up into space. There was also the question of, it was not clear insurance companies were going to actually backstop this project, although Tom Cruise is pretty good at getting around insurance requirements. But anyway, so the movie's been scrapped. What I find funny is that, as we also know, Lyman and Cruise were trying to do a deep sea movie. Remember that? There was like an underwater version of this. So like, it was like, he got shut down. He got shut down on space. They're like, great, we'll go down to the deep
land.
sea. And then that didn't happen either.
Wow. You're going to have to stay on regular land, my friend.
And he's going to do this crazy thing with Inarritu as a comedy or dark comedy or whatever. He's going to be in Digger, right? That's what Tom Cruise wound up doing, which maybe we're going to be all the better for that. Listen, Pablo, the other part that they don't say here, but I think is actually part of this equation, is Tom Cruise's star dimmed while this was happening. When Dead Reckoning started to do poorly or disappointingly, and then obviously Final Reckoning was even more disappointing, Tom Cruise's pull also declined. And I think the ability to do something as zany and crazy as this, I think he lost. He lost the ability to power all that over the finish line.
Yeah.
And instead, he's going to be, as I said, he's doing the Digger, but I'm sure I want to know how many times he's texted or called Joe Kosinski about the F1 sequel. I want to know how many times. It's like, yo, Cole Trickle, man. Cole Trickle versus Sonny Hayes.
The texts are, it could be a number of texts, but they're very short. What's going on? Those are the texts that he's getting. What's happening? How's Brad? What are you thinking? Is there a possibility? Those are the questions that are being texted.
They were in Interview with a Vampire, remember? Like 30 some odd years ago, the two of them.
Yes.
He was, it's like how
that'd be a cool reunion.
Around. Yeah.
But he can't get in. Let Brad perhaps. Do you want Brad in the cockpit again?
I don't actually.
Okay.
Like I said, because as a fan of F1, it's not an old man's game. And I think the Joshua Pierce character is the one the Damson character is the one that needs to go forward. So I think it makes more sense to have Sonny. If he's never going to be in Ruben's role because he doesn't have enough money to buy the team, but he kind of has to be in some other capacity. Like he has to be like on the pit wall, something else. I think it's tough to keep putting him in as the driver for this because that's not really how the sport works.
Let me pitch you an idea. It has to have this sort of handing off the baton sort of feel to it in terms of, obviously you have Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, huge stars, but the focus shouldn't be on that. It should continue to be on F1 and the races and the stuff that transpires surrounding that. And obviously, the everyday life that we sort of lived through and trying to figure out. But it has to have that same sort of occurrence with those guys as Al Pacino in what's the football movie?
Any Given Sunday.
Any Given Sunday.
Love that movie.
Where Al Pacino is a huge star. But he's in there. Like he is, you see, every character has to work, I think. Because you look at Heat, you look at Any Given Sunday. Are they directed by the same guy?
No, Any Given Sunday is Oliver Stone.
Okay, Oliver Stone.
Yep.
So I think if it has that sort of presence, where you have Al Pacino, but then you got Jamie Foxx, you got all these other characters.
Cameron Diaz, Dennis Quaid, Lawrence Taylor, by the way.
Yes.
Giants fans, Lawrence Taylor. Shark
So I think if you bring that towards it, it could work. But if you make Cruise, Brad Pitt the focal points,
agreed,
it doesn't work too much.
So to me, all right, we're on this tangent, but I think the sequel is pretty obvious from like a structure standpoint. The beginning, if you're going to follow the path of F1, this was one of the bottom of the pack teams that had a weaker car, weaker crew, like kind of like a top to bottom collection of ragtag people who wins a race. Not unprecedented. That's definitely happened. The second stage has to be they compete for a championship. And in F1 to compete for a championship, obviously you need a certain level of car design, you need a certain level of driving, and you need a rival. This movie, the rivalry was within the team, because in F1, the true rivalry is within the team because you're driving the same equipment. But ultimately, when you become a championship level team, your rivalries now extend to the other manufacturers and the other drivers. So the trick is, who among the real life drivers could you get to actually be the foil in the sequel when Joshua Pierce is going for a championship, and he would need Sonny's guidance to actually beat that guy. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's certain tracks. Maybe it's like he becomes Yoda effectively. He's not in the cockpit, but he's providing the keys and the tricks and the techniques to actually beat this guy. That's the sequel. As you say, it has to stay within the bounds of what F1 is. So you have to see more about different tracks. They don't spend any time on qualifying in the first movie, which is critical to F1. That's something I would put in the second one, which is single lap speed and like prepping the car for that. Mm-hmm. They also don't spend any time on the types of tracks. There are tracks that are street circuits versus ones that are a little more speedway straight style. So like there's a lot of things they could bring to the education that Sonny Hayes would have a lot of knowledge of. And Pierce would be like, hey, I can't beat this guy at Monaco, versus I can't beat this guy in Montreal. Like, and I need your help to like, get to the top of the podium. That's effectively what I think it has to be. To me, it's like, yeah, if you bring, if it's all about Sonny Hayes again, and heaven forbid, if you brought Cole Trickle or something like that in, as you say, now it's about the Hollywood of it. It's just about the movie stars, and the sport is starting to fade into the background. And that's part of what made this movie work, is that the sport was always in the foreground, as much as Pitt was a megastar in it.
Yeah. James Gunn officially casts Lars Eidinger as Brainiac in the DCU's Man of Tomorrow. I was watching.
What clip was coming, so
who is this? And Brian has a theory as to why this perhaps was the choice among his available resources as to who he can go get.
Look, I mean, I'm all for character actors and not wanting to use big names. And Lars Eidinger is a German actor who doesn't have a lot of credits. I mean, and certainly very few credits that anyone would have seen. I guess if you saw the Jay Kelly Netflix movie with Clooney and Sandler recently, he has a small part in that, but not a lot. Not a lot in the U.S. James Gunn's quote, "In our worldwide search for Brainiac and Man of Tomorrow, Lars Eidinger rose to the top. Welcome to the DCU, Lars." However, we also know there were a lot of famous names rumored and thrown around, to the point where James Gunn actually got on socials and basically cut those down and was like, none of these names are true. And even he went into this impassioned rant about it not being Dave Bautista because people had rumored that. And he's like, Dave's a good friend and it wouldn't be like, and like, anyway. I just speculated, look, I just wondered if budget was a part of this. This is a movie where it's being made as this uncertainty around WB is going on. You have this reference point for Superman's box office at 615 million. So you can kind of back into like, all right, well, if the next one is 615, where does the budget need to be for us to really make money? I know they claim they made 125 million on Superman. I don't buy that. The math at 615 versus the likely budget does not support that idea. I think they're closer to break even. But I just speculated maybe the budget was limited on the next one to where they just didn't have the room to pay a bigger fee for a Daniel Craig or a Matt Smith or whoever it might be to come in and be Brainiac. And so they had to go with an unknown and bet on someone that could disappear into the character, and that would be the sell. So that's my one sort of possibility for how we got from the names that were being thrown around to someone who most people will not be familiar with at all.
Or he wants that.
Which may not, I said, it may not be bad. It may not be bad.
His
casting was pretty good in the Superman movie. That's actually one of the high points of the movie is it's pretty well cast.
I think I'm going to go the route of, I think he doesn't want that connection to anybody. He wants Brainiac to show up as Brainiac, someone unfamiliar, someone you haven't seen before. You don't know who he is, what his character's like. We don't know. We know who Brainiac is in the comics. People are going to be looking out, especially comic book fans are going to be looking for certain characteristics. How does this, with this choice, there's not a lot of speculation as to how this is going to look and feel. So it could be that. It could be that as well. Hopefully it's that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And our final topic, but certainly not final conversation. I said, Brian, yo, have you seen this commercial for Simu Liu's Copenhagen test? Brian was like, nah. Check it out. And then Brian sends me some more quotes or an actual article.
No, this is a feature article on Hollywood Reporter
where Simu Liu discusses his perspective on Hollywood. What did he say? Because this, I'm telling you,
oh my God.
Him and Ray Fisher are going to start their own podcast. They're going to do something together because they'll have no choice. What did he say?
I mean, we know he had come out earlier, right? We talked about it when he fired off a thing about, put us in anything when talking about how Asian actors make money and then white actors get multiple chances to fail and big budgets and it's like nothing. Like, I mean, he fired off that rant on socials. Mm-hmm. But this is a little different, right? He's on the press tour for this show that he's a producer and a writer and a star in on Peacock. And he sits down for this feature and he just goes off. I mean, I was trying to think of like, what is the right imagery for this? Like, is this the team in Predators shooting the jungle? Like, is this, I don't know if you saw Honor Among Thieves. It's like the little sorcerer steps on the stone and the entire bridge collapses. Like, I don't know what the right thing is, but to my mind, this is getting awfully close to like pouring gas on his own head and lighting his career on fire. So, again, is everything he's saying here without merit? No. But how you say it and who you are when you say it does matter. And so some of the stuff here, I'll let you guys evaluate. There's a lot. I'm going to try to cut down to a few highlights. Mm-hmm. Here's the interviewer. You mentioned Bond because this is a spy show, Copenhagen Test. In all of the casting speculation about who will replace Daniel Craig, I'd say people often ask the question of whether they'd ever cast a black actor. It doesn't seem like anyone is asking the same question for Asian actors. That's the interviewer. Boy, that's teeing him up. Simu Liu, quote, "No, we're a couple rungs down the ladder. Fighting for representation for all marginalized communities is important, but it can sometimes suck if you're not a part of that conversation. And knowing I would never get an opportunity to play a role like Bond, something like my Alexander Hale character, is such a blessing because his cultural identity is baked into his character. You feel it in the pilot episode with his superiors not trusting the fact he comes from a first-generation immigrant family. These are things James Bond and Ethan Hunt wouldn't have had to deal with, and I think it adds an interesting layer to the story that's already about perceived loyalty and patriotism," end quote. That's the first one. What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, nobody's thinking about casting an actor from Asian descent as Bond. Nobody was really people were thinking about it with African American actors or black actors, but I kind of want my Bond to be whatever, right? Like what we've gotten. Let's stay in that world. There's much more than just that, obviously. But it would have been cool to see because Idris Elba exudes a lot of the characteristics of Bond. So
does
there was
so does Reg A. John Page, right?
Yes.
Right?
He would have been a possibility for a different type of demographic, I think, because he's much younger and would attract a younger audience, I think. But still would have been an interesting choice. But yeah, nobody's thinking about an Asian actor. But it's not saying anything about. I don't think it's saying anything about you being an Asian actor. It's just we're not thinking about that. It's not it's like.
Next question that I want to highlight. What do you know now that you wish you'd known before Shang-Chi hit? Quote, Simu Liu, that it's a marathon and success is defined by longevity more than the bigness of a single moment. And then with the caveat, it's going to be a lot harder for you than if you were white. Maybe that's a controversial thing to say or a hot take, but I've watched a lot of actors' careers over the past few years since I had my moment. Seeing firsthand why a system is made and why a system helps a certain type of actor, that once they got their moment, it became infinitely easier for them to get their next and their next. That has not been the case at all for me. I still very much feel like I have an uphill battle every single day. The things that come across my desk, I don't know if it's the best stuff for me, and I wish it were better. End quote. Pablo, I hate this quote. I hate it. It sounds bitter. It sounds entitled. It sounds basically like the fact that I got to play Shang-Chi, just the fact that I got to do it should have automatically meant I got to be a leading man. And I'm sorry to tell you, Simu Liu, that is not an Asian thing. You don't automatically get to have a career because you got to be at the top of the call sheet one time. And for you to say, listen, I am half Asian. I would love to see more Asian representation in Hollywood. I'm with you on that. But I do not agree at all with your premise. You don't deserve it just because you got to do this one thing. And that's what the quote says to me.
I've struggled with understanding the difference, and I think I've learned in my evolution to understand that one is better than the other. Deserving and earning, two different words. When you've earned it, you've done something, you've proven yourself. You're talking too much about deserving something that you haven't earned, yo. Thank you, Netflix, for making us be discovered. And people, thank you, Netflix.
Yeah, for Kim's
Thank you
Convenience
to the
becoming
fans.
a big hit. Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity to be Shang-Chi, even though me personally, I didn't like I didn't like the character. I didn't dislike him. I didn't like the character that he played.
What's weird about this quote to me is because he's still Shang-Chi, technically, and he's in Avengers, he doesn't point the finger in the one place where, to me, you actually can ask the question, which is, why hasn't there been a Shang-Chi 2? That is a much better question than why haven't I gotten 20 leading roles in other stuff? Because Shang-Chi, on merit, 90+% Rotten Tomatoes critic score, 90+% audience score, comes out when theaters are only 60% open and makes $430 million worldwide, made more money than a number of projects that came since with fully open theaters. It remains, I believe, the only solo Marvel picture not to get a sequel. Yeah. That's the question he can ask. Say, why didn't we get a sequel when everyone else did at Disney? That to me is a valid question.
Yeah, absolutely. But all
that
his
has
other
nothing
stuff
to do
is
with
crazy.
him personally and everything to do with the movie he was a part of, that he was a part of. But this is I need to get mine. I'm owed mine by the system. I like Shang-Chi more than you did. Anyone who watches this show knows that. I do not like Shang-Chi more than you do because of his performance. You can go back to our review show. I don't think it's a surprise that he's outacted by the likes of Tony Leung and Michelle Yeoh. He should be. He's a younger actor. Those are legends of Asian and now worldwide cinema. But he's not Chalamet in Dune.
Yeah.
He doesn't leap off the screen as whatever that guy is going to do next, I'm going to buy tickets for. He doesn't perform to that level. I hate to say it, but that's like, call it for what it is. Let's keep it 100. Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon. If you show that movie to anybody, whatever else you think, the second Bruce Lee is on screen with his mannerisms, his charisma, his delivery, his athleticism, you cannot look away. Who is that guy? Who is that guy?
You're that guy in Bloodsport after Frank Dukes hits Chung-Li and the guy on the sideline, his coach is like, more. That's what you're saying to yourself when you see Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon. And Chinese Connection, wherever Bruce Lee first showed up, you wanted more. When Enter the Dragon, that movie made him, he was out of here after that. And everything that he previously did went up with it.
And listen, I get that it's a high bar, but my point is there is a star quality which is unmistakable, and it does cut across ethnic lines. When you see Denzel in Glory, tell me that you don't see it. Now he wins an Oscar for that in the 80s, but tell me you don't see it in some of those scenes, the way he delivers the lines as a young actor, and you're like, who is that guy?
Nobody's saying that to you, like in Grease 2. Nobody's saying that.
No, that's the thing. And it's like, I'm not saying you couldn't have gotten better if they had done a Shang-Chi 2. I think you deserved a Shang-Chi 2, and I would have been there for Shang-Chi 2. But for you to say,
I would say he earned the Shang-Chi 2. He
did. Everyone associated with that project deserved to get a sequel based on all the metrics we've been taught about Marvel and the genre. But for you to come out and say, I deserve to pick your white leading man, I deserve to automatically be that because I was Shang-Chi, I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that individual performance gets there.
Those things that came across your desk, you should have gone for it and be the best of whatever that role demanded you to be. You, my friend, have not proven yourself. You haven't. How can you possibly say you have? Just because you got into an MCU movie, an MCU movie. You thought you were Chris Evans? You thought you were Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, Chris Hemsworth?
But those people, with what made their Marvel characters something else. There's a reason why when Chris Evans comes up in the Avengers Doomsday teaser, people in the theater get all fired up. It's because Chris Evans made Steve Rogers into something people kind of probably thought wasn't possible because he's such a hokey comics character in a lot of ways. Chris Evans was like, I'm going to embody this character. I'm going to own this character. I'm going to be the thing when you see me as Captain America. You're going to have such a hard time seeing anyone else. They have to keep bringing me back.
Yeah.
There is a difference. RDJ as Tony obviously is the most, but let's because Simu Liu wants us not to focus on the ethnicity, right? Yeah. Chadwick as T'Challa. There's a reason why that's such a tragedy on so many levels, but a part of it is that he lived that character so well that people couldn't unsee that. To the point where Coogler was like, I can't replace this. I cannot put someone else in that role right now.
I would ask him like, yo, Simu, you think your performance is on par with any of those? If he would say, yeah, I would be like, how so? In what way? I need to hear the comparison that you're looking at because I don't see it. I don't see the comparison. I see those things that you mentioned. The embodiment of those characters and what those guys brought to that character. I don't see that with Shang-Chi, yo. There's nothing original or, again, that pops out to say that, yo, this was the best thing.
No.
And if you want to tell me that because he's Asian, there is perhaps a higher bar for him to deliver the kind of, like, he needs to deliver more of a standout starring performance to get noticed. I might buy that. But to me, don't you have to give that performance before you open your mouth?
And who knows if those things that came across your desk were those possible things that you turned down that you thought is beneath you. That's crazy.
Well, I sent it to you, and actually I have one in particular. I would love to know what Michelle Yeoh thinks about this, because Michelle Yeoh was a Hong Kong action legend long before people got introduced to her, probably in Tomorrow Never Dies, right, as a Bond girl, for the first time. American audiences really were like, who is this? Then you get Crouching Tiger goes global. But Michelle Yeoh has done a lot of stuff, taken a lot of supporting roles, but she's never bad. She's always good. And guess what? Everything Everywhere All at Once happens. And she wins an Oscar. So she is the definition of someone who paid dues, was always good, could do physicality, could do drama, could do comedy. And eventually she gets to the top of the craft. What does she think about this comment? She was in the movie with him. What does she think about this? And I think it's interesting that, like, sometimes when you see these types of interviews, you will see other stars and other personalities rally around that or echo that. I kind of think it's interesting that at least so far, none of his compatriots have said anything. Not his co-stars from Kim's Convenience, not his co-stars from Shang-Chi. Nobody else has taken up this cry on his behalf since he started this tour. I just point that out, and I'm curious.
What's that song in the final theme song of First Blood? You know it.
Was this one that Frank Stallone sang?
It's a long road when you're
I
on
think
your
he did
own.
sing that, actually. I think Frank Stallone did sing that, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's feeling. It has to feel a little bit lonely that you're trying to champion this cause. When how you're going about it, it's not the way I think other people would go about it, I think.
So then he says, because Copenhagen test is he says is his first lead role since Shang-Chi. So they asked him, well, what are you getting? I love the interviewer asking this. Quote, tiny budget projects, third or fourth lead, maybe a villain, never the main character, never the proxy for the audience, only somebody who gets to be a piece. And maybe a
Work.
substantial piece. Don't get me wrong. I'm not ungrateful. Really? You sound awfully ungrateful. But when Shang-Chi came out and had the moment it did, I was surprised by how few number one roles came across my desk. Whereas if it had happened to somebody else, a different actor who looked differently, those offers would have come a lot quicker and more abundantly. End quote. I'm sorry, man.
You did get those. Whatever you got, you did. You got stuff coming through your desk, right? Those were
it. You big timed it. That's your ego. I mean, there's a parallel. I heard this story recently. It's totally different and it led to a different place. But I thought this story blew my mind. So Quentin Tarantino, who's been in the news for a lot of reasons, told a story that he wrote the role of Jules in Pulp Fiction for Lawrence Fishburne.
Okay.
That's who he wanted to play the part.
Okay.
Fishburne's agents refused to let him take the part because it wasn't a lead role. That's an ensemble picture, right? Jules is like one of.
Yeah.
So Fishburne passes on the role. He is then supposed to be Zeus Carver in Die Hard with a Vengeance. However, they're in like negotiation. Sam Jackson takes the Jules role. Pulp Fiction gets released at a film festival where the producers of Die Hard are in attendance. They see Sam Jackson as Jules. They sign him immediately to play Zeus and dump Fishburne. So Lawrence Fishburne should have been Jules and Zeus, and instead Sam gets both because the agent said Fishburne had to be top of the call sheet. 5 years later, Fishburne gets another chance at a similar proposition, and he takes Morpheus as a supporting role. And the rest is history for the next leg of the last 25 years of his career. Morpheus becomes the defining text for Lawrence Fishburne's become like the mentor guy, right? He's sort of like you can bring him in.
He took jobs.
Basically, it changed the course of his career. Obviously, it got him paid many times over. He takes the role that his people said he was too big for 5 years earlier. I couldn't believe that story, that we could have had a world where he was Jules and Zeus, and Sam Jackson never happens, probably, as Sam Jackson.
I think he is one of those people like Chris Nolan. We had the conversation. If he would have done this versus that, I think he was still on that trajectory to be a standout performer in different parts, possibly.
I agree, but the supercharge of Jules to Die Hard gives him the look at Time to Kill, and I think actually ultimately gives him the look as Mace Windu. I'm not sure he gets Mace, despite his own Star Wars fandom, if he's not the name actor he is at that time coming off of that run.
I loved him in A Time to Kill.
Time to Kill, right. So, but he doesn't get that role if he doesn't have Pulp. So that's what I mean.
The Negotiator.
That's I mean, Pulp and Die Hard in a row make him that's his moment where he becomes Sam Jackson, and he's never stopped.
Yeah.
Never stopped being Sam Jackson after that. Yeah. And Fishburne, I'm not saying Fishburne was wrong because he's a great actor, but I simply point out sometimes when the people around you are like, you're too good for something, sometimes taking that thing that you think you're too good for can lead to amazing places. Fishburne got a second chance and took advantage of it. Simu Liu, if he gets another chance, he might be wise to take that third role, take that small budget thing, try to win and get nominated for an award, make a name for yourself on your performance, not just on the fact that you're in the MCU or you're playing a character people know from a comic. Like, make something your own. Don't be looking for everyone else for things you think they owe you. The whole tenor of this, I think, is wrong. And I think he's the wrong person to say it. I think there probably are performers out there in Hollywood, people of color, African-American actors who have missed out on parts, who have done far more than this guy has, who could sit there and say, hey, I've been wrong by the system. I didn't get the looks that I should have gotten.
Let me tell you one. Angela Bassett deserved that Oscar that year.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's over Jamie Lee. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
That was a travesty to me. That's why I think they said this year or going forward, we need to watch these movies. We need to watch these performances and just not look at these snippets and say this was better than that or whatever the case may be.
Or, there's other ways too. Like, maybe it's align yourself with the director. Like, look at the path Michael B took. Like, Michael B realized, even though he was Wallace in The Wire as a kid, like that sort of stuff, he realized him and Coogler found each other. And when they worked together on Fruitvale, they both realized we're better together than apart. And like Michael B is an A-list star now because of that partnership. But because within that partnership, he owned his roles, right? He got his shot at Adonis. He made something of it, right? He got his shot in Sinners. He made something of it. And now he's what he, like, there are other ways.
You sounding crazy out here, Simu. You sounding crazy out here, yo.
You sound bitter. You sound entitled. And I'm telling you, this is not the way, man. This is not going to get you more calls.
Nah,
this is a talk of somebody who is basically burning the bridges and closing the door. And I'm telling you, if and when Marvel ever does reboot Shang-Chi, you're not going to be Shang-Chi.
That's a wrap. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of all of these little storylines that are developing. It's unfortunate.
By the way, I just thought I got to get, so when they're on the Doomsday press tour, because that's going to be an ensemble press tour, other than maybe Downey. So they're going to put Simu Liu on a panel with a bunch of white Marvel leads. Are those Marvel leads going to be like, hey, which one of us you talking about? Which one of us got all those looks that you think you should have gotten, that we should, they're going to be thinking it.
Yeah.
Like I guarantee you he's talking about at least a few of his MCU compatriots. Like, is he talking about Hemsworth because Hemsworth as a lead outside of Thor hasn't really made money? Is that is he talking about that? Like, there's a few of them on there, right? So Tom Holland, is he talking about Tom Holland? Because Tom Holland, when he's not Spider-Man, generally doesn't make money, but he keeps getting shots. Like, who's he? There's at least a few people in the MCU who are white, who are leads, who fit the category of what he's talking about. So if you're on a press tour with him, you telling me those people don't have it going through their head that this guy basically is tearing down my career because he thinks he should have had his?
Is he going to be treated like what's some Captain Marvel actress?
Brie
Larson? Because on the press tour there was a bit of a tension when they were. Is it going to be something like that? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see the type of questions, because here's the thing. You got a guy that can make you go viral. All you got to do is ask the right questions, because someone like this is going to give you controversy, the thing we want in today's social media. This is going to be interesting.
I'm telling you, man.
Didn't even put him on the press tour. That's the question right there.
Well, that's a fair question. That's, if I was them, I'd be careful, because you don't want people talking about this movie in the wrong ways. You could say all attention is good attention. I'm not convinced that's always true.
Nah, not for this. Not for this.
So you're right, but that will just. What do you think that's going to do, though? If they sideline him, what do you think he's going to do?
Oh, forget about it.
He ain't going to be quiet. That's why we need a cutscene. We need a cutscene of like what? Cutscene of like, what's it? You're gonna have like Simu Liu in the bar, like at the end of Incredible Hulk, and then like Ray Fisher pops up and says, "We putting a team together."
AI that joint.
And then in the background, you got like Bo DeMayo's got the Fury eye patch, like.
Oh my God. This is Disney's I guarantee Disney's gonna have a talk with him. You have to, Brian. You have to have a conversation like, yo, what the hell? What's going on here? What is this about?
This is also, by the way, how is this helpful for his show on Peacock? Are you going to watch this show because of comments like that in the interview? I think it goes the opposite way.
You watch it with an eye for whether or not this guy has the goods. If he doesn't, people will be as vocal and, I guess, more harsh with their critique, I think. Because why do you deserve these accolades you think you're supposed to get? Or these opportunities you think that you're supposed to get? Just because the way it makes it sound like you need to get this because you was in the MCU, and that's crazy.
It's entitlement. That's what I'm saying. That's. I mean, like I watched, like Amazon did Daniel Day Kim. Speaking of Asian led, they did a spy series with based on a graphic novel called Butterfly. It's okay. Watched it, mildly entertaining. Amazon didn't renew it. I don't see any issue with that from the standpoint of I don't think it found a big audience, and it's not an amazing show in a genre spycraft where there's a lot of stuff out there. But like, you know, we talked about it. I put you onto it. Last Samurai Standing on Netflix, 100% Rotten Tomatoes, found a big audience. Obviously, all Asian performers, Asian produced. Got renewed for a second season because people liked it. Audience found it. Like
he hasn't. Yo, at the end of the day, you haven't performed, yo.
That's what I mean.
How do 100-meter dash people get to the Olympics? Performing and proving themselves that they can do the time. You haven't done that, yo. You haven't proven that. Not with those performances. You had some good performances with Kim Convenience. Hooray. Thank you, Netflix. That's as far as it's supposed to go for you. Then you get your shot at Shang-Chi, and you didn't. Yo, I would say the majority of people I think that I've spoken to say that he is not the guy that you go see for this movie.
No, he's not.
There's other things that make this movie good, not you. You just happen to have the name Shang-Chi, but you didn't embody that character. I got a Marvel encyclopedia. The description sounds more exciting than what I saw in Shang-Chi for this character. When you read that compared to what you saw, it's a stark difference, man. The excitement level isn't there.
But again, I'll give you another recent example that goes against what he's saying. Aaron Pierre. Rebel Ridge was not on anyone's radar, but it comes on. It's a surprise. And if you turn it on, who do you pay the most attention to? The second he's on screen, it's Aaron Pierre. Who's that guy? We watched that out of nowhere. We started texting each other. We did a show saying, that's Green Lantern. A month later, he's Green Lantern. He got a shot because he owned a project and elevated it to something it was not supposed to be.
And you know what that means? Everybody saw what we saw, and we saw what they saw, and they made the right decision. That's the human connection right there. And when you have people saying that you weren't the reason why this movie was good, but you think because you were in this movie, you deserve the big shot. Yo, take what you can and make those performances memorable so that people could see what you're capable of. What you're capable of is we haven't seen the range. We haven't seen the body of work that could say, that's my guy for this type of role. Not this face. It's not about the face.
And I'll give you a Caucasian actor who would fit this bill from the same genre, who it kind of hasn't quite happened for. And that's Henry Cavill. Is Henry Cavill a bad Superman? Not at all. Is he an unassailably perfect Superman? No, I think that's debatable. I think we watch Man of Steel, and a lot of what we speculate on is he could have done more if he had been asked. He could have. But with what he was given and the performance he delivered, it's not like his career went to the stratosphere. Look at all the near misses he's had in the years after that, where he didn't get to be this and he didn't get to headline that. And he's a celebrity. Yes, he has a nice career. Yes, ultimately in The Witcher, he finds a character that I think elevated his star in some ways more than the Kal-El role did. Mm-hmm. But it's not like just because Henry Cavill was Superman in a high-budget Chris Nolan, Zack Snyder production, he suddenly got to be James Bond and got to be, the leading action man in Hollywood for the next 10 years. That didn't happen for him. So I just point out, you're making it a clearly ethnic proposition. And I'm giving you counters right in front of your face in the same genres where it's not been the case.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying that everything he's saying was without merit, but I have a problem with this guy using that one movie as the I am owed mind.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. But hopefully somebody can advise him. I know Disney's going to have a talk with him. You have to have a talk with him because he can't be the reason why people in China can't see this movie. Brian, he can't. But it's going to be like that because this might not be showed in China, right?
You're correct. China, which also is supporting Avatar pretty nicely after giving Zootopia 500, 600 million so far. This will be an issue for Doomsday. Because we know it was an issue for, remember, John Cena with F9. He had to issue an apology for the censors to show that movie in China where the Fast movies have done pretty well.
Or they completely cut him out the movie in China.
I speculated they would cut him out of the movie entirely. I mean, is he too big not to be cut out of the movie? We'll see.
If you're doing a direct sequel from Endgame to this, and I wouldn't miss him. I wouldn't miss Shang-Chi. I don't even know why he's in the movie. I honestly still don't know why. What does he have to offer? I don't know. I know what the other guys have to offer.
You sound like the Bobs. What would you say you do here? No. Office Space.
It's a very interesting situation, man, that these people have to navigate. Because you have to navigate it because this guy is out there talking. And we got to minimize it somewhat. And again, China is needed for the sort of success that they want to sort of try to achieve here.
Absolutely.
That's going to be interesting. If we get that sorry letter.
He's not going to do it, man. Listen to the tone of this article, man. That's not his. That's not in his DNA.
They'll have no choice but to cut him out of the movie. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of all this, man. I know this has been a long one, but there's a lot to talk about. So yeah, remember, hit that like and subscribe, hit your notification bell. If you're driving to family, throw this on. If you're traveling for a long period of time, throw this on and listen to some of the ideas and subject matter that has been transpiring for the last couple of weeks and as of late. So again, if you haven't heard it anywhere else, you heard it here first on the NerdGen Report.